you guys are considering buying a oil air separator for your VB WRX, in today's video I'm going to teach you everything you need to know to install it yourself at home in your garage with basic hand tools. Let's get into it. What's up guys, we are back with another YouTube video for the VB WRX. We've got the Perrin AOS or Oil Air Separator. So now that my car is pro-tuned and it's running additional horsepower, we've got the front mount intercooler and quite a few bolt-ons, catback exhaust, turbo inlet, intake, cob access port, and pro-tune. It's making 374 torque to the wheels and 323 horse to the wheels on a Mustang dyno. And so when you start pushing that type of power, you start getting oil blow-by, which is bad for your car. So this kit is going to eliminate that. And what's cool about it is it drains right back to the sump. So it's basically maintenance free. So you don't have to go in there and, you know, pull it out and drain the oil back out of it. It basically recirculates back into the system. So it comes with everything you guys need in the box, all the different hardware, all the different adapters, tees, fittings, zip ties, bunch of different size of hoses. So I'm going to show you in today's video how to install it and kind of everything you need to know. It comes with really good instructions. So get started, we're going to go ahead and come into the engine bay. I've already removed the air intake snorkel. We're going to remove this fan in order to get access to everything behind there. I'm also going to remove this charge pipe. I've got my car up on the lift in the garage and I need it to drive to work here. I've got my STI brakes on there with the Perrin spacer and they do fit. You've got just a few millimeters of room, which is going to fit perfect. And what that's going to allow me to do is my Volcos, those have my Hankook RS4 like soft rubber track tires. Those are expensive tires, they're not going to last long and they're not winter tires. These are some Azenis Falcon tires and they're just about shot. There's really not much tread life left on them. So what I'm going to do is take these two 45 40 18s off and I'm going to do it once I get done with my WRX in the garage. My plan is to push the GTR in the garage. I'm going to take off my Michelin Pilot Sport 4S's and these are like 3 years old. They're virtually almost unused and they're like halfway through their life age because tires are only good for about 6 years. So I'm going to take those wheels off, put them in my car, take this in and swap the rubber onto these tires, and then I'll put my Inky wheels, my old Inky wheels on my GTR. And these have a new set of Bridgestone Potenza SO4 pole positions, like basically brand new tread. So I need to use these because they're about 4 years old. So I need to kind of recycle my tires and get my money out of them. Otherwise they're just gonna age and, you know, die before I ever use them. Hope you guys enjoyed the B-roll kind of the disassembly, and what we were working towards is getting in this area because we're going to need access to all these different lines and all these different things kind of down in the engine compartment here. And then let me take you guys underneath real quick. Oh, lots of lighting here for you guys. All right, so coming underneath, But now we've got access to all these different systems underneath here. And that's kind of what we were after, guys. So I went ahead and removed that lower engine cover and metal brace that covered this whole area up. And now we got access to easily work. I'm gonna head in and take a shower. It's my wife's 40th birthday. We're going out to celebrate her party tonight, so I'll catch back up with you guys in the morning. I just want to give a big thank you to Perrin Performance for sending me out the Oil Air Separator. I will have a link in the description down below for this exact product if you guys want to get your WRX set up the exact same way. But I think it's going to set somewhere over here. I'm not sure exactly where it goes, so let's get that figured out. Okay guys, so we've got the coolant line in and out here, and then this is your actual oil air separator drain. So that little hole in the bottom here, that's going to drain. You got the filter on the inside, and then there's actually an O-ring seal. If you guys look in the little channel there, there's an O-ring seal already in there, so just be careful not to damage that when you put everything back together. And it even comes with one for the future if you need to replace it if you develop a leak for service. It does recommend put this on a vise and tighten these down, so I'm going to tighten these up. Alright, that's all looking nice and good, guys. It's assembled really good. Everything's nice and tight, and it's at the exact orientation as what's shown in the picture. So it looks like I even got my stuff in a little deeper. Maybe that wasn't all the way tightened yet, but it's definitely not going to leak. Yeah, just tighten it down as snug as you can by hand. This is aluminum, so just keep that in mind when you guys are tightening. You don't want to strip the threads out, but definitely snug them down. I probably, put 15 to 20 pound-feet of pressure worth of tightening to get those all the way in. I know that. Okay, now that the bottom fittings are all on, we can go ahead and secure this back on to the oil air separator. You guys can see the orientation in the picture. This is off to the left, so we'll kind of go somewhat in the same position. And then when you put it on, it says in the instructions, make sure it seats down on the O-ring nice and level. And we'll just kind of lightly put it into place, and then I'll worry about tightening it once we know the orientation it's going to go on the car. And it just says make sure you keep it centered. We'll just finger tighten it right now. So that wasn't too bad. We've got the oil air separator all assembled. It's ready to go. So the next step is we're going to come over to the engine bay here, and we're going to we're going to install the turbo sump restrictor. So we're going to come down here to the Blowby diagnostic connector, and we're going to remove the lower clamp on that. Before you do so, make sure you disconnect the negative terminal of your battery, get it up out of the way. And we're going to be coming into the engine bay, and we're going to go ahead and remove this connector right here. Basically, what we're going to be working on is there's a clamp that holds this sensor on here. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to pry that off. So I've been stuck here for about the last 10 minutes trying to figure out how this stupid clamp comes off. And all you guys are going to do, I actually took the whole sensor and everything apart so I get better leverage on this. And I want to twist this around to the back side. And right where this clamp comes into here, you basically just stick your flathead right between these 2 points and kind of give them a twist. and you will pop that off. And then this clamp is garbage. You're not going to reuse it. You'll be using just a normal hose clamp. Happy Halloween, guys. It's the next morning, October 31st. I wish I was at SEMA. Everybody that's there right now, I'm so jealous. Hopefully next year I can get down there. But we have the connector out, and basically what we're going to be doing is I need to figure out how to remove this little white plug, and then we're going to put the Perrin adapter, that's going to slide into here, and then this little center section is going to give us our oil outlet here. But we're making pretty good progress. If you guys like this type of content, make sure you hit the thumbs up. It really helps me to continue to make these type of videos for the channel, because then the channel can grow, the videos get recommended, and it helps generate more revenue, which helps me buy more parts and do more stuff to the build. So yeah, hit the thumbs up, subscribe, share, comment, all that good stuff, guys. Yeah, and looking at this clamp, guys, I freaking hate these type of clamps. So stupid. I couldn't figure out how to get it off. You just literally, like I was showing you, just put a little flathead right through here, pry that, it's going to pop right up off of that little thing that's keeping it in place, and then from there you throw it away, and we're going to put a normal hose clamp back on there. So don't worry about destroying that when you get it off. Just like I said, flathead in there, pop it off. Okay guys, so we need to remove this little white section here, and what it says to do in the instructions is just pry this little section off here. Okay guys, so what I ended up doing is putting this thing into my vise, and you can see there's just that little lip that you're trying to get to pop free in here. And so with it in my vise, I was able to just put a hand on it back here, and then with my other hand hold the screwdriver in and kind of use my hand as leverage and pry and pull at the same time, and it pops right out. Looks like there's like openings, kind of like a headlight in the plastic the way it goes around. I'm just going to twist it, lined up and free in between, and then you just press it out. So you're just trying to get that little O-ring out, and you can see kind of those little grooves in there that you need to be able to pass through the center section. Just make sure you don't damage it when you get under the seal to get it off. So you're going to save the O-ring for later, and we're just going to go ahead and slide the sump restrictor into the cap here, or into the plug connector, and you can just push down and push it right in there. Pretty simple. O-ring goes right here on the top. I went ahead and replaced all the pinch hose clamps with just some normal hose clamps, and then we've got our barb connector down here. It's facing forward. I figured I'd go in here with my cell phone real quick to just kind of give you guys a little bit of a peek, a little bit closer up, so you can kind of see what everything looks like. But this is that plug. So when you put these together, make sure you squeeze real hard to where it clicks into position, and then that's what locks that little clasp in. And that's very important for the O-ring to seat against the plug housing, otherwise you'll have a leak there in the system. Turbo inlet, you've got the bottom connector with just a little clip that holds that on, and then we're going to come up to the top. So we're going to separate right on that bottom line. We're going to chisel that apart just like it shows in the instructions here. So we're going to use just a chisel here with a hammer. If you guys need all the tools, I'll have links for everything I'm using tool-wise to get this job done, as well as all the parts and everything you see in the video. Okay, so now that just pops up and off, and we can pull this all the way out. So when I removed mine, the O-ring was stuck up inside the housing still sitting in there. So I went ahead and pulled that out, and per the instructions you actually install that up inside the bottom of the oil air separator. There's a little like ring area in there, so I'm going to go ahead and install that. Make sure you guys don't miss that step. Next, guys, we're going to go ahead and remove this foam and then cut the vacuum line away. There's even a little tiny O-ring in there, so don't cut too deep. Basically cut deep enough and then just use the pliers to tear the plastic the rest of the way off. Alright, we're going to go ahead and reinstall this. Back to where it was. It's going to click into position, guys. And then go ahead and slip the tensioner back so you can slip your Allen wrench through this opening to hold it in place. Kind of like that there. Take the serpentine belt, we're going to slip that off. We have to remove the alternator. Just set this up and out of the way. It's pretty cool. You guys see that little FA24 marking down there on the engine. I went ahead and lowered my car down on the quick jacks to the next level lower because now we need to get behind the engine back here behind the intake manifold, and it was a little too high for me to reach. So what we're going to do is come right back into this area. You got your EGR pipe, and we are going to remove, so we're going to be removing this big hose right here. So just use remove the clamps on each side here, pull it up and out, show you what it looks like. Okay, so what you guys want to do is use a little bit of silicone spray and a small flathead. You're going to use your flathead to basically pry a little opening in the rubber, and then spray your silicone spray down in here, and then from here, guys, you can basically just walk it right back off. Without that, it's going to be kind of stuck in a position. Okay, now I've got my car pretty much almost all the way on the ground. I went ahead and retorqued my lug nuts since I put the STI Gold wheels on after doing the brake spacer. But let's come down to the bottom side of this, and what you guys are want to do is get some needle nose pliers and basically work them down there, and you can just walk that bottom hose clamp off. There we go. Now we can pop that. So I sprayed a little bit of silicone spray down the hole there, just enough to be able to manipulate this and kind of work it back and forth. And then just what I did is twist as hard as I could and just pull, and it will basically just pop right out. So that was removing that off of the pipe there. So we're going to put a 27mm deep socket on that, and we're going to pop that off. And luckily I just picked up a 27mm deep socket specifically for this job, and I waited a little while to do it because I didn't have the tool, and I took a peek through the installation instructions and saw that I needed that. So that's down in there. We'll just put a extension on there. Got my breaker bar on there, and it comes off a piece of cake. And if you guys can see down in there, there's kind of a valve on it, so all that loosening spray that I sprayed down in there, it didn't get into the engine, so that's good. Just make sure you guys give yourself probably a couple of days. If you got a weekend off, start early on a Saturday morning so you can have time and keep your patience and get this install slowly but surely done. And my hat's off to Jeff Perrin for us guys who can install the parts. That's one thing, but designing the whole kit and like figuring it out how you're gonna like route it initially and manufacturing all the parts, I'm pretty impressed. So fitment, everything's good. Quality, everything is spot on just like usual, and I'm very happy with this so far. And the instructions are good too, so without the instructions I would have been screwed. So I hope this video, when you guys watch it, saves you a ton of time, because seeing everything as good as details I can film it on camera, I think that is the most useful tool for you guys to do the install. So after watching this, I think anybody can honestly do this install. Just take your time, it's going to be a long one. Okay, so we're going to be swapping this big thing out for the Perrin one. So this is going to thread into that same hole. There's really no good angle to get at this for you guys, but I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. Your hand just kind of will wedge down past the EGR pipe here. Just slowly use your crow's feet, guys, and work this in until it's nice and snug. So I use my longer wrench to get it torqued down. It is aluminum, so you don't have to, over tighten it. You don't want to strip it. But those are done. Make sure you use flat crow's feet and not the other ones that have like the wrench hook style, because it won't fit over it. All right, let's keep working. Now we can put our 1/2 inch vacuum line. We're going to take 20 inches of this, cut it, and get it connected. So the hose is on, and if you're wondering how I got down here, I'm just using a 3/8 inch socket with a 7mm wobble socket on the end, and it's easy to get down there and tighten this up. So that's all you need to get yourself a little wobble socket. So we've got our OEM PCV valve, and we're going to attach the supplied Perrin adapter to it. So I'm going to go ahead and slide it back into the deep socket, put another socket over the other end, 19mm on one side, 27 on the other, and go ahead and just snug them down. So go ahead and you're going to cut about 2 1/8 inch off of the original PCV valve hose, and then you're going to take your adapter that we just did, and this is going to go into here with the big hose clamp, and that's going to connect back to your intake manifold. Okay, so we've got everything prepped. So you've got your 2 outlets that were coming out of here. These are water lines, so you're just going to run the big hose around, get everything hose clamped on, and then you've got your smaller 1/4 inch out. This is your oil drain. Put a hose clamp on there, tighten it down. From here, make sure you put your little lock nut in there, whatever that's called, and then we're going to want to put our O-ring up inside the bottom of this before we drop it onto the car. Next, we need to get this little plastic adapter off. You got a little clip in there, you need to pull that off. So you get a long flat head. So what I ended up doing is taking the dipstick out to have enough room to move here, and putting the bottom of that right on the inside of the AC housing on the other side of the bolt, and then prying, just basically lifting with both hands up quick, and then this just pops right off, exposing the barb. Now we can put the AOS on that bad boy right there. Make sure you guys got the little O-ring installed in there. And so that O-ring is going to slide over this metal right here. So what I did is put a little bit of oil over here just to ensure that the O-ring is not damaged, and then the little lock screw or whatever is going to basically nut down to there. So what you want to do before you mount this is push the rear coolant line that comes off, push it down past the bracket here, otherwise you won't be able to seat this on there very easily. And let's go ahead and mount it. It took me a few different tries to figure this out. So what you want to make sure you don't do is damage that O-ring seal that's inside there. Alright, so we're getting ready to tighten this screw down here, and make sure before you tighten it, you need to push down all the way, and you'll hear this thing click against the bottom. So now with that seated properly, you guys are going to go ahead and rotate the housing slightly so that it lines up perfectly with the vent pipe. And now we can go ahead and tighten this down. I'm gonna bring you guys in here to show you what I was talking about. So the bottom of this housing here, there's a little notch, and that notch has to line up with the underneath there. There's the pipe. So the pipe, you literally rotate the Perrin bracket until it lines up to the pipe, and then you snug it down. Pretty simple. Well, we're getting closer now. I'm starting to get excited. We're almost done with the job. Let's put you guys back up. Let's drop the alternator on. So we want to make sure the one coolant line is between the alternator and the tensioner, and then the other one needs to be along the block underneath the bracket underneath the alternator. Okay guys, so I went ahead and plugged all the lines in because to try to sit here and measure everything out and cut it all out on video is going to take forever. So I'm just going to show you where they go. So coming off the top here, you've got this line that comes out to a T or to a Y adapter. And then you've got one connection that's going to go here from the Y, and that goes back around to the adapter that we installed on the back of the intake manifold. The other one goes down and it connects into the turbo inlet down there at the bottom. So that replaces that big ugly plastic factory piece we had. And then the water lines that come out from the bottom, one of them I actually had to take the alternator back off because I wasn't paying attention to the instructions. I had it coming out in the front, and it's supposed to actually, the lower one goes basically down underneath the alternator and comes back up right here. And then the one from the front side right here just comes up and over the alternator and kind of back around into this area, and then I'll get those routed and show you where they go in just a second. Oil Air Separator, the drain that comes out on the bottom there, that comes down in front of the valve cover, or in front of the timing chain cover, and it comes down by the radiator, and it goes down to that little nipple that we installed over here. You want to keep the flow going down, so I've got it zip tied kind of right down here, and then on the wiring harness here, and then from there it just goes in. So it goes down to the drain return line with a hose clamp on there. So this is all done. I slid the fan in. I'm going to go ahead and kind of test fit everything together. It's a lot of trial and error, so I'm not going to film it all. I'm going to go ahead and put the intercooler piping in, put the air box back in, the snorkel in, and then I left the hose clamp off here so I can easily remove this to get my hose exactly where I want, and then I'll clamp this all down. Well, I've pretty much got everything back together. I've got all the plumbing, I've got the intercooler piping in. Thank you to Perrin for sending me the trim piece that goes around where I cut for the front mount pipe to go through. So when you're dealing with all these big plastic barb connectors, put a little bit of engine oil on there to help lube the vacuum lines on. Otherwise it's really hard to get them to slip and seat all the way down into position. And just go ahead and give it a nice big hard push, slip it in. Alright guys, we've got our coolant lines that have made it all the way back over to behind the throttle body, and there's a coolant line right down here. So we're going to disconnect that coolant line and then use our connector to create a loop through the oil air separator. I've got the bottom of the car all buttoned up underneath, so everything's back on. Skid plate, metal skid plate, and then the engine undercover, so that's all done. Alright guys, we are finally done with this install, and this thing was a little bit more technical to install than I was anticipating. And the big thing that you guys are probably thinking, just like I was, is hey, this is kind of an intimidating install to do, because what am I doing with all these vacuum lines? How does everything route? That's kind of what I was thinking. So what I want to show you guys is kind of everything in detail so you can get a quick look at it. So you've got your coolant lines on the bottom that come out. They go down and around the manifold, intake manifold, and what you want to be careful of is that EGR pipe. So I've got them routed right here off of the brake booster line, and they incorporate back into here. So one goes to the line that was coming off, and then the other one goes to where that line originally was going in, so that completes the circuit. So now that coolant is going to flow into the oil air separator. Now let's look at our crank pressure output. So you've got one line that's coming from the bottom, it goes up and in here. The other one is where the oil air separator mounts, so both those lines are going into the oil air separator. It's going through the filtration, which I'll put a little bit of pictures online how this thing works online. It's a really good system to separate everything out. And then from there the system comes out, it tees. One goes back to the turbo inlet at the bottom, which I'll overlay some video, and then the other one goes back into the intake manifold. And why that's important is when you turn up the boost, guys, we've almost doubled the boost pressure. So you have all that extra boost pressure inside the cylinder, and what that allows to do is some of those gases can combust past the rings, and when they do, they go into the crankcase. So with all that additional crankcase pressure, you're basically taking your PCV valves and you have a lot more gases that are coming out of the block, and with those gases it's carrying a lot of oil, and those oils are going to be introduced into the inlet on the turbo inlet, as well as the inlet on the intake manifold, and then it's basically going to flood your system, causing build up on your valves. It's going to also bog down your intercooler with oil and ruin the efficiency, as well as messing with the tune and the map of the car, and you're introducing oil into the combustion chamber. The car's not tuned for that. It's tuned for gas and it's tuned for air. When you introduce oil, it's going to mess with the air-fuel ratios. So that's why it's so important when you start tuning your car to install the oil air separator, because it's going to extract all that oil blow-by from the crankcase, and it's going to let it just drain right back down into the oil sump, and you're good to go. It's maintenance free, plug and play. Simple as that. So the biggest thing that I hope with this video, guys, is that this gives you the confidence to do it yourself. I tried to do my best to show you all the detail, everything up close. Everything is nice and buttoned up, and what I'm going to do now is we're going to go ahead and start it. We're going to inspect everything for leaks and just kind of listen, and then after that we'll put on the new belt cover. So I've got this piece over here, and this is the Perrin engine cover designed specifically for the oil air separator, so we'll put that piece on last. Looking down below for coolant leak, and I'm not seeing anything up either one of those lines. I don't hear any vacuum leaks. Watch out for the belt, guys. And then we're going to look back here and inspect these coolant lines, make sure there's no leak. So nothing leaking there, and nothing leaking right there. One thing I thought of is you can actually kind of get this part pre-installed, and you can slip it right underneath this little tab right here. It's a lot easier than trying to put a tape and wrench together. with that belt cover on there, this looks so much better, dresses up the engine, and I'm very happy with fitment and everything. This one is, it is a challenging install, guys. Make sure if you're going to do it on like the weekend, start on a Saturday, give yourself enough time, because it's pretty technical. I think with my video, it should be enough to get you guys definitely all taken care of and all the way through it pretty easily. So the only other question I was wondering, because you know you have all the oil vapor and everything being caught out of the system, is why did the coolant lines have to go through there? And the only thing I could think of is maybe to heat up the system, to keep moisture or anything like that from developing in the canister and then introducing back into the engine, giving you like that milky white stuff. So I called Jeff and he said yes, that's exactly what it's designed to do. So it's designed to keep this canister heated up to evaporate the moisture as everything is being filtered out and keep your car running perfectly. So there you go. I will have this part listed in the description down below, and I'll have a list for all the different mods I've got done in my car: front mount intercooler, intake, turbo inlet, oil air separator. I'll have a link for the Paragon performance rotors that we've got on there, and STI brakes and suspension, pretty much kind of my build. I'll have it all linked in the description down below, so you guys will have a resource page for you. But as far as zip ties, guys, I've got a zip tie here to kind of keep all this tightened down. I want to get a big zip tie around this area, just around the manifold, to kind of pinch all this together, which I don't have yet. I've got a zip tie right here in this little point to kind of hold this Y pipe back to the intake manifold, and I've got it zip tied there. Just want to make sure you keep it away from the EGR pipe, because that is hot and you don't want to melt your water lines there. So hope you guys liked today's video. If you did, hit the thumbs up, leave me a comment down below, let me know what you thought was helpful with this video today. And the next few things I'm going to do, I'm waiting for Perrin to come out with the VB WRX header as well as the rear J-pipe section. So those videos will be coming as soon as those parts are available. And I'd like to thank you guys for watching today's video. If anybody made it this far to the end, leave me a hashtag to the end. That way I know that you guys are still watching, because the people that watch the whole video, it really helps out the analytics in YouTube, and it helps, the more view time you get on the video helps get the video recommended for others and helps grow the channel. So I just want to say thank you. But you guys, I'll see you on the next video. Thanks for watching. Take care. Bye.